share with you the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, hopefully 8 books. 8 books. 8 books I've read in January. Now first, a little bit about January itself, because I started the new year on vacation. I was in Budapest for the new year, and when I got back I realized that I had misjudged how much time I had left until my exams. So I thought I had 3.5 weeks, but really it was 2.5 weeks. And so I was not prepared for that. And I started studying. I was studying day in and day out. The only good thing is that most of January I didn't have any other things to do, so I didn't have to go to uni, I just had to study. And yeah, I studied the whole day. I didn't film a single thing, which I missed dearly. And yeah, now my exams are done. I passed 2 of them, and one of them I haven't gotten the results back, but I'm hoping that I passed as well. And I'm finally filming. I'm filming 2 videos in a row. So if you saw me in this exact same outfit last week, no you didn't. It's the same day for me. Okay. Anyway, January was actually surprisingly quite a good reading month, quantity-wise. Quality-wise, yeah, but quantity-wise, wow. Despite my exams, I managed to read 6 books as of today. The 7th one I'm hoping to complete this night, and the 8th one I'm hoping to complete in the coming days, because it's still the end of January, so I still have some time. But anyway, let's get into it. Unfortunately, I did read the first 4 books on my e-reader, so I cannot show anything physical to you. Except for my e-reader. But she's currently sleeping. First, though, I read Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio. I read a lot of short books this month. Graveyard Shift is a novella. I don't know how long it's in print, but I don't think it's more than 100 pages, at least not much more. I think on my e-reader it was right around 100 pages. And Graveyard Shift is about a group of insomniacs who gather on a churchyard every night to smoke. It's their smoker's break. And one night there's someone else, and they're doing something to the graves. But what are they doing? Is it a grave digger? Maybe something deeper is at play here, maybe something truly sinister. And they start investigating. Now this premise sounded amazing to me, because if you didn't know, I've been loving kind of spooky, creepy reads lately. And the atmosphere was amazingly done. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I rarely give novellas anything better than 4 stars because the length is often a factor for me. story that, has a beginning, middle, and end to a satisfying degree. And in Graveyard Shift, I found that the ending was lacking a little bit. It came too abrupt for me, and I didn't expect it to just stop. Like, there were all these things going on, and then it was just like, and now it's the next morning, and this is the end. It wasn't that extreme, but all the plot points, all the story points were tied into a conclusive ending. So it wasn't like an open ending or anything. It's a satisfying ending. It's just very... There's a lot of exposition, and there's a lot in the middle, and then the ending is just kind of so-so. But if you think that people running around at a graveyard at night sounds like something you'd be interested in, or if you enjoyed Emma Rio's other book, If We Were Villains, definitely give this one a go. Alright, then I read The Mistletoe Connection. Sadly, I don't remember who it was by, which I gave 3 stars. This is a very cutesy read. Let me change up the triggers a little bit so it's not too boring for you. I just lotion up my hands so I can't do hand sounds very well. But The Mistletoe Connection is a very cute read. It takes place at the airport or on Christmas Eve, and it follows lots of different people, and we get to know them. We get to know what they're doing at the airport on Christmas Eve, and connect their stories to each other. So we have an older man who's visiting his family after his wife died. We have 2 exes who meet up at the airport after not having seen each other in years. We have a couple who's fighting. We have 2 teenagers who meet for the first time and think they're cute, like, respectively. We have a family who's moving abroad. And it's a feel-good story. I think it would be best to read this towards Christmas, because it's a Christmas story in a way. But I read it in January, and you can also read it as a winter story. I don't think it changes much. But yeah, it was cute. It wasn't extraordinary. It wasn't like revolutionary. But I had a good time reading it, and I especially enjoyed seeing the people who hadn't seen each other for a very long time, or hadn't seen each other at all before this, getting to know each other again. So I also enjoyed the storylines about the families and the couple who was already together, but the exes meeting up again and the teenage couple, they were my favorite. I kind of feel like I'm speeding through those books, but when I don't have the blurb to read to you, I kind of don't have a lot to say. Alright, what else can I do as a trigger? Oh. I have a super cranky notebook. Oh, damn. So, next I read a classic. Because I'm into gothic horror lately, which has lots of themes of nature, and nature kind of rebelling and coming to life in a way that we don't fully understand, and spookiness also, like, within humans and the way we interact with nature. So a lot of like spirits and ghosts and like nature phenomena that can't be explained. And yeah, I've been into that a lot lately. Basically classic ghost stories. And I sunny and wonderful and it's summer and everything is great. And then one night she sees a man standing on top of a tower of the house, like at the top of the tower, on a balcony. And she's never seen him before. What's he doing there? And the story unfolds from there. The initial switch in atmosphere from like a feel-good summer atmosphere to spooky, there's a stranger in my house atmosphere was brilliantly done. Unfortunately, the second half got a little redundant for me, and so I ended up giving it 3 stars in total. I did say that this month was not the best quality-wise. But if you are interested in gothic horror and you are interested in reading like an original gothic horror story, definitely give it a turn. It's not too long, so even if you think it's boring, you'll get through it, I promise. Okay. And then the last book that I read on my e-reader was actually a 5-star read. Let me start with that. Oh, by the way, I think this is the first time you're seeing my book nook on screen. I think the last time I did a video in front of my bookshelf, that was before I built this, so that was like back in November or something. Anyway, 5-star read. It was non-fiction by, oh god, don't let me lie. No, I don't remember the author. Richard Preston, maybe. I think Richard Preston. And it's called Hot Zone. The terrifying true origin of the Ebola virus. Let that sink in for a minute. And that one was amazing in like a weird, fascinatingly gory way. It's non-fiction, yes, but he dramatizes some aspects. So, yes, Ebola and Marburg, I should say, it's a German name, so Marburg and Ebola are terrifyingly scary illnesses, but they're not as drastic and like as gory as he makes it seem in the book. Oh, I was gonna say in the video, like in the book. But if you're interested in like how it all came to be and some of the details around it, or if you're just interested in getting to know more about like illnesses and viruses and how that all works, I would absolutely recommend this. It's easy enough for someone who doesn't have any medical knowledge, but even if you do have some medical knowledge, you won't get bored by it, which will become important for the next book that I'm reviewing. But it's, if you're sensitive to like vomiting, blood, any of those kinds of things, maybe don't read it, because again, it's a true story and there are a lot of mentions of those kinds of things. But I do believe that, especially this was written in the 90s, and especially 30 years later, we had a pandemic, and there are illnesses all around us. This book is still as important as ever, especially considering that, as far as I'm concerned, we still don't have effective treatment or vaccines. I think there's a vaccine now, but we still don't have like the perfect treatment for Ebola and Marburg, which are sister viruses. So if you're wondering what the hell Marburg is, it's a sister virus to Ebola. Yeah. Anyway, 5 stars, show stopping, amazing. Oh my god. illness on our body. And I borrowed it from a friend who I know watches my videos. So if you're seeing this, I am so sorry to you. But I DNF'd this after like a third. I'll tell you this in person as well, don't worry, but you know, that's anyway, a very kind friend borrowed me this book. Let me borrow her book. Sorry. And this is definitely written for the layperson who knows not a lot about alcohol. I personally found that, or let me start this another way. The author is very open that he himself was once addicted to alcohol. So this is not like someone pulling things out of their, you know what. This is someone who knows what he's talking about. However, my real issue is with the writing style, because this is written for the layperson who knows next to nothing about alcohol, and it's made to be funny deliberately. There's also some serious talk, and it's not like he's trying to make it seem like it's not as bad as it is, but it's definitely meant to be humorous. And as someone who, I also said this in my Goodreads review, but as someone who learned pretty much all of these medical things that he's talking about in much more complicated terms in my studies, I felt like he was talking to me like I was a child. And there were some things that were just simplified so much that as someone who's learned them in their like complexity, I didn't feel like the book was representing that very well. Just one example is he was comparing being like blackout drunk to a group of guys trashing your apartment, kind of. And like your brain is the apartment, and while that's not a bad metaphor, when I want to read something non-fiction, something medically focused, I want to read something that will treat me as an adult, and I didn't feel like this book was doing that. But that's entirely my problem. So I did DNF it after a third, but I refuse to give this a rating. This does not deserve a 1-star rating. However, I cannot give it anything else because I didn't complete it, and so I will not give this any rating whatsoever, because I don't think it's fair to this book. Because again, it's not a bad book, it just doesn't fit what I would like to read. And this year is not the year where I push through books even though I'm not enjoying them. Anyway, let's continue. Next is, oh my god, it's so heavy, another gothic horror book, and the reason why I chose this particular background color Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth. Let me read the blurb. 1902, Brookends School for Girls. Students Flo and Clara are madly in love with each other, as well as completely obsessed with the story of Mary McLean, the scandalous debut memoir by 19-year-old McLean. A few months later, they are found dead in the woods after a horrific wasp attack, the book lying next to their intertwined bodies. Within 5 years, the school is closed, but not before 3 more people immediately. This is like, oh, yeah. And it's just the right amount of spooky, and yeah. But I have two issues with this book. Number one is that the middle loses pace. So it's not like super fast pace overall, but the beginning goes by rather quickly and the ending as well. But the middle part is just felt like it was dragging. So I would not say that there were any unnecessary scenes. I don't know exactly what could have been cut, but it just felt like there was not a lot happening in the middle. And then the ending picked up the pace again and just drew me in some more. So I read 300 pages, and then I had a really, really hard time getting to 400. But once I had gotten to that mark, or I should say, I read 200 pages that I loved, read 100 pages that I didn't love as much, got in a reading slump, soft DNF'd this for 3 months, picked it up, pushed through the next 100 pages, and then completed the last 200 pages in like one setting. So my first issue is the middle. My second issue is that the ending felt rushed. It felt a little like the author was forcefully tying together story points and tying together strings that didn't match. So it felt like there were so many like what's it called? So many like open ends for her to connect, and she connected them. She did connect most of them, but it felt like they didn't quite fit together. And you know, in Gothic horror, you are often left to wonder and left to think about whether what the characters were experiencing was truly supernatural, or if it was a delusion. In almost every single Gothic horror book, so in My Darling Dreadful Thing, Turn of the Screw, Plain Bad Heroines, all of them kind of leave you with the question, how much was real, how much was supernatural, and how much was just a delusion of the protagonist. And that I love that. I adore that. However, in this book, I didn't fully understand the delusion. Let's just call it a delusion. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand where this was all coming from. And first I thought it was because I had soft DNF'd the book for a quarter year. But then I read some Reddit posts. I just googled ending explained, like Plain Bad Heroines ending explained. And as it turns out, a lot of people were having the same issue, that they didn't fully understand why it ended the way it did, and how everything ties together. And yeah. However, to end on a positive note, this book is absolutely gorgeous. There are so many drawings in there, and while yes, it's long, 2/3 of this book I absolutely loved. If you want to dive into Gothic horror, this is not the first book I would pick up, but if you find that you do enjoy Gothic horror, definitely give this a go. Also, side note, I ordered 4 books, 3 of which are Gothic horror, as a treat for completing my exams. I will show them to you once they're all here, but I don't know when that will be. So you could say that I'm currently in the mood for horror books, which I didn't think I Also, by the way, can we admire my bookmark for a second? How pretty is that? It's like, I don't know if it's wood or if it's like very thin metal, but I think it's wood with metallic paint, with like a metallic print. It's so gorgeous. It's like these gorgeous flowers on it. Love that. Anyway, this one continues the trilogy. Avery thought that solving the riddle left by billionaire Tobias Hawthorne would reveal why he left her, a complete stranger, his entire fortune. But as the cryptic clues pile up and the handsome and enigmatic Hawthorne grandsons continue to pull her in different directions, Avery wonders who she can really trust. Soon Avery realizes this game is no longer just about money and power. Now she's playing for her life. If you're in the mood for something lighthearted, something fun, something detective story and puzzles and mystery crossed with YA love triangle, but like the love interests are both pretty much unproblematic. It's just like she can't decide who she wants. Give this a go. I genuinely am enjoying it a lot. I think at this point I would give this 4 stars. I have about 100 pages left to go. And it's fast-paced, it's super fast-paced. There's a lot happening, there are a lot of plot twists, a lot of fun characters. You don't like all of them, but you enjoy seeing all of them on page. And, yeah. Now, before we get into the last book that I will read after this one, I want you to take a close look at the red book here on the back. This red book is called The Final Gambit, and is the 3rd part in the trilogy. Keep that cover in mind, please. Yes, would you do that for me? Now first, let me show you the first part. This is the first part, the inheritance games. This is the second part, the Hawthorne Legacy. Keep in mind this red cover on the back, the Final Gambit. Do you have that in mind? You already know what's coming. What's this? What is this? It's the 3rd part of the trilogy. And it's ugly. It's the ugliest book on my shelf. Period. Against all odds, Avery has survived nearly a year of secrets, schemes, and love lost and found at Hawthorne House. She thinks she knows all the family secrets, but when a familiar face arrives with shocking news and a plea for help, it's clear there's one last puzzle to solve. Soon, Avery and the Hawthorne brothers are drawn into a last deadly game against an unknown and powerful opponent. One thing, the spine is gorgeous. You know, this is an alternate, older version of this book. And I don't think I've seen anything uglier in my entire life. Whoever designed this cover, I am not sorry to you that I said all of that. This is a crime. But the problem is, same number. Normally different editions have different numbers, but they have the same one. And I ordered it thinking the red one would arrive, because that was the cover photo for the listing. But this is what came. Now, I am not book crazy enough to buy a second copy, so I will just deal with this on my shelf. But it hurts me every time I see it. It does. That all being said, as I've mentioned, I do genuinely enjoy the trilogy. I wanted to show this for a full circle moment, even though I haven't read it yet. But I will let you know how I rate the trilogy. And if this book is as ugly on the inside as it is on the outside. No, it's probably not, but you know, I'm not a huge fan of ordering books twice. I don't care much for special editions, or you know, I usually go for the cheapest option, except for like some very, very special books to me. The only thing I do pay attention to is that series match. So if I buy a certain book and then I buy the second and the third part, I want them to match. That's the only thing I care about. So I would never go out and buy a second version of this book just to have it fit on my shelves, because I think that's just wasted money. I would rather buy a new book for that, but I don't own yet. But sometimes I still wish I would have gotten the red version. Anyway. Okay. So that was all books that I read and will read in January. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope the ending wasn't too disruptive. Now I will go and read